they're trying to push him, and this is for the audience at home, they're trying to push him on why he took this guy, David Weiss, who is the U.S. Attorney for the District of Delaware, and made him special counsel to go after Hunter Biden, 2 minutes ago. This guy, David Weiss, was investigating Hunter Biden now for years and could have brought charges many times and let them slide and let the statute of limitations expire on the most egregious charges, like the tax charges that would have brought up the Burisma connection. So he's been really running to protect Hunter Biden. If you look at the way he's conducted that investigation, and if you look at the IRS whistleblower's testimony, it's very clear. David Weiss is on Hunter's team. Then he tried to sneak through this settlement agreement that would have given Hunter immunity for everything, Burisma, foreign agent, all the stuff, with just a slap on the wrist for the remaining lame tax charges and the gun charges. So all along, people have been wanting to know, how is it that this whole thing got allowed? Why didn't he seem empowered to bring charges like the IRS whistleblowers claim he admitted he wasn't? They're claiming that he came to them when they said, where are the tax charges, for the love of God? And that he said, I can't bring them. The most serious tax charges are in California and DC, and I was not granted authority to bring charges in those jurisdictions. I can't do it. Well, your own Andy McCarthy at National Review has been doing yeoman's work on this, as you guys know. And he's pointed out, as a former U.S. attorney himself, that it happens all the time, that a U.S. attorney, let's say in Delaware, is investigating a case, and the target of his investigation turns out to have committed a bunch of crimes in California, where that U.S. attorney has no jurisdiction to go in and, commence a grand jury, et cetera. So what does he do? He goes to the district attorney or the U.S. attorney in California and says, hey, will you partner with me? I want to bring this case. And sometimes that U.S. attorney will say, sure, Delaware man, let's do it. And sometimes they will say, no, not interested, too busy. It can be your thing. And when that happens to said Delaware U.S. attorney, he has to go to the Attorney General, who is the boss of them all, to say, can you give me basically a permission slip to go out there and bring this case myself? And they almost always say yes. There'd have to be, an extraordinary reason for the AG to say, no, you can't do it. So that's what's called special attorney status, not to be confused with special counsel, in which case you don't have to go to the AG at all. As soon as you're special counsel, you're independent. You don't deal with the AG. You can do what the hell you want. And all along, people have been saying David Weiss should have been a special counsel. Not him. I mean, before we knew his bias, people were okay with him. But somebody with independence and outside the government, not currently answering to AG Merrick Garland as a U.S. attorney, should be named special counsel and have independent authority, given the fact that Hunter is Joe Biden's son. He didn't do it. Didn't do it, right? So now people are zeroing in on what Merrick Garland has said now that the shit has hit the fan, and what David Weiss has said via letters, via testimony. Weiss has yet to testify. Garland has testified before Congress a couple times. And the line they've come up with is that Weiss never asked for special counsel authority, but always could, but didn't up until recently when Merrick Garland gave it to him. But earlier, Weiss says he was assured by the Justice Department, he put this in writing in July, he was assured by the Justice Department that if he needed special attorney status, again, that's the temporary permission slip to go into somebody's jurisdiction without being special counsel, that it would be granted if appropriate. It would be granted if necessary. That's what, if necessary. Now, the big question today, Jim Geraghty, is what the hell happened after that assurance was given to David Weiss? Why did David Weiss go and say, can I get the special pink slip that would let me go into California? Why did he do that? Because we know he was denied by the U.S. attorney in California and the one in D.C. We know that from the IRS whistleblowers, and the New York Times has confirmed it. That he did try to see, hey, would you guys bring these charges? And it was a no. So at that point, a willing prosecutor should have gone to Merrick Garland. Already it's fraught. That's why he should have been a special counsel, because Garland's basically working for Joe Biden. So it's fraught because you're basically saying, can you give me the special permission slip to go prosecute the president's son? But in any event, he should have done that. And he seems to be claiming he did something like that because he went to Merrick Garland and said he was told he'd get the special attorney status if it was necessary. Well, what happened next? Did you then bring a case? Oh, wait, you didn't. You let the statute of limitations expire in California and you let it expire in DC. You appear to have done nothing. So what did, if necessary, mean? Did Merrick Garland want more assurance? Because what he's saying today is, I didn't interfere. I was so hands off. I treated it like plutonium. I didn't come anywhere near it. Well, then what did if necessary mean? What did David Weiss have to prove to get to the it's necessary, go ahead and bring the case? Is it on Merrick Garland, who wouldn't say, yes, we're at the necessary point? Or is it on David Weiss, who got the if necessary, we'll give it to you, and then just put his hands over his ears, closed his eyes, and said, I'm just going to sit here until the statute of limitations expires? Either way, my main takeaway from listening to Merrick Garland wiggle and worm on the Hill today, Jim, is he's a snake and a liar and is doing everything in his power to obfuscate real answers on how this all went down and why the most serious charges against the president's son are no longer possible because the statute of limitations has run.
I mean, look, I think I can try to decide whether it's worse if Merrick Garland and Weiss actually did agree on what if necessary meant, and that they both had this idea that the threshold would be so high. We have incontrovertible evidence that Hunter Biden committed the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and therefore we simply have to prosecute on these charges, or whether, Weiss had one idea of what if necessary meant, and Merrick Garland meant, no, I only want you to do it if it was 2 chainsaw massacres down in Texas. That's the threshold, my idea of how bad it's got to be before we prosecute Hunter Biden. Look, I don't begrudge any prosecutor for having a certain, reluctance or churning in their stomach and needing acid when the case involves the son of a president. You know that anything you do is going to be interpreted be political. It's going to be interpreted as either being targeting the president's son, or it's going to be interpreted as sparing the president's son. But this comes with the job. You're not really given the option to opt out of cases involving the president's family. When Merrick Garland took that job, first of all, I mean, Democrats treated him as if he'd been resurrected from the dead after he had his Supreme Court nomination derailed by the GOP Senate a couple of years earlier. And he had, 1,000 times sworn that he was going to be the nonpartisan, down the middle, balls and strikes. You wouldn't even think of him as a Democrat. You would just see him as the nation's chief law enforcement officer, and he was never going to allow Biden to influence him, and Biden was never even try to influence him and all that stuff. Well, that's not what we've gotten. What we've, both from IRS whistleblowers and also these very odd decisions that keep being made by Merrick Garland, including spending, really months insisting that David Weiss had all the authority he needed and that there was no need to have a special counsel in this case. And anybody who was claiming otherwise was, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And then like that, we have turned him into a special counsel. Therefore, now he really has all the authority he needs. Trust us, there was nothing wrong with the previous arrangement, but we totally felt the need to change it anyway. There's a contradiction there. They've never really even tried to explain what that was or something. Weiss comes across as somebody who is torn between the mountain. Look, I was going to say, try to think of a kind of a scandal that Hunter Biden has not gotten himself into in the past couple of years. The drug use, the impregnating the stripper, the fight over child support, none of that stuff's even criminal, but that's there. Then there's the shady business practices. Then there's the huge gifts from foreign businessmen. Then there's the question of whether they should have registered for the lobbyist. Then there's the question of the gun and unlicensed. Like there's just a long stack of potential law breaking and scandals and unsavory behavior. And you get the feeling that Weiss just wanted to pick and choose stuff that would be bad, but not too bad. And that would result in a fine, result in a plea bargain, something where you could say, see, we went after him, get off my back. And that, it would never really cause any significant headaches for that. And Hunter Biden had one of the world's most generous plea deals on the table. And somehow he managed to screw it up because his lawyers believed, this also means we can't be prosecuted for anything else we've ever done in the past or in the future. This is literally a get out of jail free card for Monopoly that they wanted. Anyway, I've ranted long enough. I'm going to let Maddie take a few whacks at this piñata. But it just seems like an unbelievably ridiculous situation. And the situation Merrick Garland assured us that he was never going to find himself in.
And by the way, I just want to clarify too. David Weiss in his letter to Congress in July said, I was granted, full authority, right, the ultimate authority, and told I'd be given special attorney status. I'm calling it a pink slip to go visit somebody else's jurisdiction. It's not as big as special counsel, but it's sufficient to go in and prosecute if necessary, right? That's what he said, if necessary. And he's also said that he was told that before the meeting he had with the IRS whistleblowers and the FBI agents, in which the IRS whistleblowers have said on the record that they were told by David Weiss he did not have full authority, that he was not the decider. He was not the ultimate decider. Junk science. That's what the doctor called many of those fruit and vegetable supplements on the market. Junk science because they use extracts of common produce department fruits and vegetables with very few health benefits. But I want to tell you about Field of Greens. Field of Greens is different. They use whole organic fruit and vegetable, not a watered down supplement. And it's backed by a better health promise, which I'm going to tell you about. Each ingredient in Field of Greens was scientifically chosen to support vital organs like heart, lungs, and kidney health. Others support your immune system, blood pressure, metabolism, and healthy weight loss. Their better health promise is simple. The next time you're at the doctor for a checkup, if the doctor does not say you're looking healthier than before, you get your money back. That's a deal for you right there. So let me get you started with 15% off. Visit fieldofgreens.com. Use my promo code MK at fieldofgreens.com. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.